Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you for joining our call today. I had a little bit of, I wrote several things down that we could focus on today and kept crossing them out. And I noticed that, yesterday we were talking a little bit about root words. Concise, something about concise was our focus yesterday. And we talked about I mentioned the root words and how that broke down with con and size and some of those things. And anyway, that's kind of where I went today. The words that I wrote down, the common root of all of them was the word rest. And I thought that's interesting because several people had somebody mentioned a good night's sleep. Before we started the recording, we do some rounds of gratitude. Somebody had mentioned like that place between sleep and awake. Somebody else just said rest. So I thought how interesting that was that I hadn't noticed that. But when I looked at the root word of, actually it was RES, resolution, resolved, restitution. Those were the first three words that I wrote, and they just weren't quite right. And then I noticed that RES, how that was common. And I was like, okay, then it's rest. That's what we're going to focus on today. Gratitude for rest. I've got my timer set for 90 seconds, and we're going to do a private silent meditation, gratitude for rest, and we'll see what comes up. So 90 seconds, gratitude for rest begins now. All right. Many of you know that I have been going to bed at 9 o'clock at night and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's been so awesome for once in my life since probably I was a teenager, even before then, that I've been getting 8 hours of sleep most nights. I don't always get 8 hours of sleep because I go to bed and I read for a little bit until I get, droopy eyed. And then I'll, turn the light out and go to sleep. And so it's not exactly 8 hours, obviously, but anyway, got 9 hours last night. I went to bed at 9 o'clock and my alarm went off at 5, but I was kind of like in the middle of a dream and it just pulled me back in and I didn't wake up again until 6. So I actually got 9 hours of sleep. And in the past, like years past, I would have beat myself up so much just for taking that extra hour, even though it wasn't something that I really, I guess I could have controlled it, but was something that just kind of like the dream just kind of drew me back in. It was like that time between sleep and awake where you're still like super vulnerable to going one way or the other. And, but I realized that it's okay. It did throw me behind a little bit because I'm just like in the middle of my GPS when the alarm went off to go get on here on the gratitude call. So I'll be finishing that up after the call's done. But it's okay. Yesterday, Lara was doing a training with our Architecture of Life mentoring group. And one of our participants was expressing concern about, not being able to get everything done and everything. And she said something about, you know what, it's going to be there tomorrow. Like if you don't clean the bathroom, it's still going to be dirty tomorrow. So you can have another opportunity. And nothing is absolute. If, there is like a sweet spot I talked about in my masterclass and for this month of January about the law of convenience. I'll make sure I put a link to that in the blog post if you missed that. Some amazing information about, there's certain little things that you do that's kind of your sweet spot, that if you do these things, then it creates convenience in your life. You do these things today and it creates convenience in your life later. But, and I talk on that law of convenience masterclass about how eventually it's too late. It's like Christmas, it's like, well, I'll get that done tomorrow, but then it's Christmas Eve and it's like, okay, well, I guess whatever is going to, be is going to be because we're done. And the world hasn't ended yet. I can still run to the store. I could still, I can still do my GPS after the gratitude call. There's things, I could cancel something and change things around and, give myself and make more time for myself. I mean, there's still time to be able to accomplish some things. And so, that feeling of rest, it kind of carries forth into our day. We can have rest at night, but then waking up in the morning, if we start out the day with judgment and shame and, what did I do? I slept an extra hour and all this, shame on ourselves, then we can't rest the rest of the day. It's like, it's all about trying to hurry and catch up and do, and that's not the way that, the world was created. It's not the way that we were meant to be. So it's okay. I just love that idea that it's going to be there tomorrow. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I think sometimes we have said that, just like kind of flippantly, but now we even say that literally. It's not the end of the world yet. There's still time. We can still get some things done. We're okay. Okay, we got a couple of notes here in the chat, and then I noticed Colleen and Lara. So Deep T says, P.S. today is the first full moon of 2021. Awesome, and we know the full moon from what Deep T has shared is a really great time to release. So thank you, Deep T. I'm going to definitely be doing that tonight. And then Colleen says, thanks, Deep T. Always nice to know when it's so cold here and we resist going out and checking on that. Me too. Lara says, I saw the moon out my window in the afternoon yesterday. Beautiful. So yeah, we can all check in on that. That's awesome. Colleen, and then Lara, and then Crystal.
My meditation went somewhere different because when I wrote rest at first, I was sitting there, I wrote W-R-E-S-T, and it sort of reminded me of wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed how even my gratitude, that I can see other people and they're wrestling with things, and it doesn't put me at such a discomfort. Like I hated wrestling matches and my husband loves them, and I'm just sitting there, I just hate that struggle for dominance and that, the rawness of that wrestle, And then I thought about how we were talking about remodeling, Laura was, and I was, and we watch people in their messes a little bit, and the struggle to dominate our bodies with our spirit, and just thinking about wrestling that way. And I've grown really comfortable with even other people's struggles, and I don't get as anxious as I used to. And it's not such a wrestle for me. I think I actually see it in nature, how there's something already there and something happens and it can turn into art or it can turn into sort of a mess, but it always ends up beautiful. I mean, after a
Awesome.
fire, after,
Mm-hmm.
just that struggle for, okay, let's clean this up. This needs to be revitalized here, and it's a process that you sort of, after you've watched it a couple of times and you age and you grow and develop, you don't, it is a form of resting it for me.
Cool.
I can even see my process. I've done enough remodeling that it doesn't mean struggle for dominance. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a process, and I can embrace it so much easier for other people and say, oh,
Wow.
it's gonna be okay. I've been through this. This is good.
Well, what a blessing, to be. I know you're a little bit older. You've, been through a lot. Colleen had your own experiences in life. But a lot of times we do get uncomfortable when we see somebody else going through a problem. It's like, oh, if they would just do this. And, we kind of have this need to fix them, to help them fix their problem or whatever. And that can be kind of a wrestle in itself, of us within ourselves, just wanting to help them fix their life or whatever. And especially if we try to insert ourselves, sometimes there's a wrestle. It's like, just leave me alone. I'll figure it out, whatever. I love how you compared that to nature, how like fire is not trying to dominate the forest. It's like a beautiful dance of breaking seeds open and clearing out debris and starting fresh and everything. It's like this beautiful coming together, and for you to be able to let go of the need to try to know better than somebody else or whatever. There's a different kind of rest that comes to your soul when you can just allow other people to go through their stuff and to hold space for them, to allow them to be able to find their own way. Thank you.
And there's another thing that I was thinking about, even with surgery pending for me. I
Mm-hmm.
can't fix everything, but some people
Mm-hmm.
really can. And
Mm-hmm.
to have the humility to ask for their help and know that this is an expertise for them,
Oh,
and to not be uncomfortable with them coming in and fixing your mess.
yeah. Wow. That's a really important way to be able to rest in the knowledge that somebody else has the expertise. And sometimes that's hard to do, but that's beautiful. Thank you. Laura.
There's so much wisdom in what you said, Colleen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. What I thought about was that we're created to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Like we always think about we're created to achieve a purpose and to share with, and that's true. And that we're created to build the kingdom, and that's true. We're also created to rest. And there's so many ways that we're created to rest. Rest in the spirit, rest in Christ, to rest in, and the seventh day God rested.
Mm-hmm.
And just really embracing that we were created to rest, and to fight that, or to put on some, or to almost demonize rest,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is to defy God.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's to defy God.
Wow. So true. I mean, you look at how we were created, we all have to sleep. And,
Mm-hmm.
if we are working in the yard or in the house or whatever, we have to take a rest every once in a while. Our bodies are limited. And I mean, and God created that as a blessing.
Benjamin.
I might be on this call. It's a podcast. So
Even Sunday every week, every week we have one day that is was created for us
Yeah.
to rest,
Right.
and it's a blessing. Wow,
Mhm.
thank you.
It's a commandment.
Yeah,
It's a commandment.
totally. Wow, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much wisdom in that. Crystal.
So what I was thinking about is it's wonderful to have time to think and realize new things. And like when Jesus came to the people after he's resurrected in the Americas, he said, he taught them, and then he's like, you know what, I've taught you as much as I can. You're not ready for more. Go to your homes, ponder what I said, then come back tomorrow. And for me, like I've had this situation where I've been alone for 4 or 5 days, and it's given me time to think and get all these new awarenesses. And it's like a new birth, kind of a regrowth. And I also heard, I don't know if this is scientific, but I heard that you have to sleep to learn. And I think it's like the little man in your brain is like, you have all these things you learn, you have all these papers out. And then he's like, I got to take some time while you're sleeping to file all these away, put them where they go. And then when you wake up, you're like, you've categorized it. It's been sorted. And I really think it's quite true.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And, I think about babies sleep so much and they grow so fast. And I remember when I was a new mom, the doctor telling me that that's when they grow, that's what really facilitates growth is the sleep. That's why they sleep so much. And so, healing happens when we're resting. So growth and healing and yes, learning, I think that is, and even learning beyond physical learning. Like I have dreams that I wake up and I'm like, totally understand what that dream was meant for. And it gives me answers. I'll, go to sleep with a question and I'll wake up with an answer. So I know that there's a lot that's happening when we're resting. We're not just like comatose. Even if you're comatose, I think there's still some brain activity. So
True.
yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Deepti.
So I take rest as kind of gathering energy. That's exactly what you do when you're like sleeping. You're gathering energy. The moment you are awake, it's the waking hours. You are like you're on your toes. I have to do this. I have to do that. And every time you do that, you're consuming energy. And not necessarily that while sleeping only is when you rest and you gather the energy. It can be in meditation. You are gathering energy. It can be when you speak less, you are gathering energy. That does not kind of apply to me. Anyway, and it also can mean that when you get less reactive and responsive, you are gathering energy. And I directly I think gathering energy is directly proportional to your ascension. The more less reactive you get, the more you get into the meditative state, the more rest you take, where your conscious mind completely shuts down and your subconscious is on a total total turn on, where your hidden powers are there. I think all the places where you can rest and consume your energy is the faster you want to roll up the 3D, 4D, and 5D. So it's like a reset also. It's resetting your old patterns. That is exactly why they say that the best way to for your subconscious to take in information is right before you go to sleep and right after you wake up, because you are not totally conscious that in between period. And when you try to reset your old patterns or beliefs to the person you want to become, they become most effective in the periods of rest. So I also take it as resetting, so I can be with my new beliefs like throughout the day, but the best way it really goes inside your body is during those rest periods. Even when you are meditating, you can reach a point where you can reprogram yourself. So
Mhm.
resting equals to resetting also.
Beautiful. I love that idea of when we're resting, we're gathering energy, and that totally makes sense. That's why we rest, right? To restore our energy, to gather that energy in, and then we go back to work or wake up or whatever and start doing our, going about our day. We're conscious, and when we're consuming that energy, so then we need to rest again to restore it. So, yeah, wonderful. Any last thoughts before we shift over into our permission process? Tyree?
So I reposted this lady's post yesterday, and she taught in the post, it said, I would have pulled Joseph out of that pit, out of that prison, out of that pain. And then she goes through and she's talked about how she would have pulled David out, and she would have pulled Esther out, and she would have pulled Jesus off the cross. And I would pull you out. I want to change your path. I want to stop your pain. But knowing that she's wrong, because that is cheating you and cheating the world out of so much good, because God knows. And I think, and anyway, it was a beautiful post and a beautiful way to see life, and going along with what my mom Colleen said and what's already been talked about, that, and so she says that, and so instead of trying to pull you out, I'm lifting you up. I'm kneeling before the Father, and I'm asking him to give you strength for hope, and to move you when the time is right, and to stay prayerful and discerning. And so I just think that when we really turn to the scriptures, and that, what's that scripture, Matthew 11, 28 or something, 29, somewhere in there, that turn to me and I will give you rest. And how we receive that rest in Christ. And it's when we, regardless of our circumstances, regardless of the mess or the pain or the whatever that we are going through, or that we see someone else going through, when we truly receive Christ, that he gives us rest.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. Really culminates into, just brings everything home. Thank you. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath and just get into that place of rest, that place of meditation. Like Deep Tea was talking about, this is a place of rest. Taking a deep breath is a place of rest, a moment of rest. Going inside and connecting with God, turning to him and allowing him to give you rest. Just take a moment right now, set aside anything that has been consuming your energy, any worry, any doubt, any fear, any activities. Maybe, I know sometimes when some people that are on this call like to get things done, and they'll, dust the bedroom or whatever while they're listening to the call. Just put your dusting stuff down and just allow yourself to rest in this moment. Just take another deep breath and just feel the restorative energy, that the restorative power of breath. Just taking that deep breath, feel it as it fills up your lungs and goes out into all of the extremities, the cells of your body, oxygen, just the intensity of oxygen, feeling the tingle of it in your fingers and toes. Just really see as that breath is being pushed out into, the oxygen is being pushed out into all of your cells, out into your fingertips and your toes. And feel and express gratitude for this beautiful gift that God has given us of rest. And that in rest is when we have the easiest time connecting to deity. He is a place of rest. There's no, got to get this done in heaven. It's all flows perfectly. Everything works out. All things work together for good. It's all just light and love and peace and order. And just step into that feeling, that place of rest. And the first question I have for you is, what is your limiting belief that's coming up about stepping into this place of rest? What's the limiting belief about rest? And just examine the cost. If we know that this place of rest is where we grow, it's where we become restored, if it's a gift from God, if it's a commandment, what are the costs of these limiting beliefs? What's it been producing for you in the past, and what will it continue to bring you? What must the law of attraction bring you if you hold on to this limiting belief? And if you don't like that cost, if you don't like what this limiting belief has been producing for you, you can give yourself permission right now to choose some new beliefs. And if you're ready to give yourself permission to choose some new beliefs, say yes.
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 Awesome. So go ahead and choose some new beliefs. Go back into that place of rest, and maybe even listen for God to whisper some words to you. What are some new beliefs that will empower you to be able to enjoy and get the most from your times of rest and allow yourself to rest? What new beliefs will not only be like overcome the struggle, but to get you to a place where you're like, why would I not? Like, it's so obvious. What new beliefs will help you to jump over that, jump through that doorway of fear and just be on the other side where you're just like, absolutely, rest is exactly what I need. And I'm going to make sure that I receive as much rest as I need, and follow intuition when it's time to rest, and actually do it, and allow yourself, your body and your mind and your spirit, your soul, everything to be healed, to grow, to learn, all of those wonderful byproducts of rest. So 2 or 3 new beliefs, and then really bring those into your body. Embody as you breathe in this next time, embody these new beliefs. Allow, as the breath, as the oxygen is filling up your cells, that you're also bringing these new beliefs into your heart, into your consciousness, into your fabric of your body, your DNA, so that as you move forward from this moment forward, you are grateful and you allow yourself to rest. You seek moments of rest, and you see the importance of rest, and you even preach rest. Whatever it is that that feels right to you, that these new beliefs will empower you to go forth with this gift of rest and use it as it was meant for your benefit. And one more deep breath, and just be open to know what is the one most important thing that you could do today that would allow you to step fully into these new beliefs, to believe and see the truth about rest. What's the one most important thing? What's your inspired shortcut to embracing rest in its true form? Awesome. And I'm going to be opening it up for some shares in just a moment. We've got a couple of thoughts that have been shared in the chat, so I'll read those. And while you're gathering your thoughts, I also want to just offer to anyone, if you are needing some extra support in this area, to reach out to me on askwylene.com. That will take you to my calendar, and you can schedule a 15-minute call. That's a free mentoring session that I offer just for the asking. So if you feel like you need some extra support with regard to rest, anything that we've talked about today, please schedule a 15-minute call there at askwilene.com. Deepti says it's actually night where she's at. And she says, I was actually about to do the moon ritual and skip the call, but I intuitively came here. And she is feeling this collecting your life force by resting. That's beautiful. Colleen says, I'm thinking about how Christ tarried when Lazarus was sick. Ananias went right away to Saul, but Jesus tarried. He knows the exact timing. We wrestle for our spirit's dominance over the body, but as we gain it, the anxiety goes away and we trust him more. Awesome. And it must have been perfect for Lazarus to have that moment of rest in death before Christ brought him back. And, obviously to show his power, Christ's power to raise the dead, but maybe Lazarus needed that extra rest. Janice says, better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Beautiful. That's Ecclesiastes 4:6. I don't think I've ever noticed that scripture, Jana. Thank you. Deepti says, when Wileen said God is the place of rest, I saw myself laying my head in the lap of someone. Beautiful. Thank you. Crystal, you have something to add to that?
Yes. So my limiting beliefs were, I don't have time to rest. I shouldn't have fun. I should work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And my new beliefs are, rest will help me create my great work. Resting by connecting to God, like you just have a prayer in your mind, your heart,
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be kind of calm to be able to hear him. And
Yes.
my main one is rest speeds my journey. I want to tell a quick story. I had a brother who was struck by a horse and became traumatically brain injured. And afterwards, my dad was so sick. It was like his greatest trial of his life. He'd always wanted a brother, a son. His dad died from a horse when he was 2, and he was just heartbroken. And my dad didn't know what to do. So he already was running a farm. He was a salesman. That was his main career. But he bought 40 baby cows. And we never have had 40 baby cows before or since. But all he knew what to do to take all the pain, the emotion, was to throw him into feeding 40 new baby cows.
Mm.
And so sometimes you think, speed up, this is, but really slow down, focus on the fundamentals. Those 40 baby cows didn't help him sort things out,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's been a good lesson for me. Just be okay with resting will actually speed my journey more than making myself crazy.
Yes, absolutely. And, sometimes it is painful to rest. I can totally see, how people throw themselves into something when they're grieving, when they're feeling pain about anything, especially something, somebody that they love that they feel like they have no control over. I know people that will go clean, they'll clean out a closet or something like that if they're feeling something, and just because they don't want to feel the something. But the rest is where we heal. The rest is where we can connect to God, where we can really understand what those thoughts are that are coming to us, that are filling us up with pain. And that pain, wherever it is in our body, is pointing to, this is what needs to happen. This is where we need to make some changes. And also turning to him, to find that rest from the pain. I see that Laura's unmuted. I was thinking about her, the training that she did for our Architecture of Life mentoring group yesterday, and how my aha was, the faster we work, the slower our manifesting is. That if we just stop and allow ourselves to rest and become like a wave, is what she calls it, then we actually fill the space between having and not having. And so all of a sudden the having is there. And so it's in the rest that everything is accomplished so much faster. So thanks for bringing that up, Crystal. Lara, because I know you probably have something to add to that, and then Anna Maria.
Yeah, I mean, the rest is the space between the objects, in a sense, whether those objects are thoughts or tasks or or anything. And what occurred to me was that rest is not the opposite of work. So there is a way to work
Mm-hmm.
that is restful, that isn't frantic. Now, we need true rest separate from work as well, right? That's true. But even when we work, there is a restful place in the soul that we can work from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me, that I have a habit of not being restful when I work, right? And it's just a habit. And so that's something that I want to work on. And because I think about some of these few people in our history that have really had that restful soul all, as so much of the time.
You think about like Mother Teresa.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking
Mhm.
of. And then I was thinking of some of these Indian gurus, spiritual evolved people that are just very restful, but they do like all these things.
Mhm.
They can be, busy for, they can go for 24 hours, and which I'm not recommending, but I'm just, pointing out that there's a restful state in the soul that carries them through. And so that, I was thinking both of those actually. And then of course, Jesus, the way he lived,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that restful place from which we can work. And I think that's one of the things that we focus on with the Soul Attunement Call, is to be in that place of rest. That's what it's a place to find rest. It's the name of the podcast.
Mhm.
And but just seeing that rest isn't separate,
Beautiful.
it has to be separate from work. We have to just rest. But
Mhm.
even our work should be more restful than it is. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be frantic.
Yeah, thank you. Colleen says it's so much like this call. Taking the time for gratitude sometimes actually
Yeah.
most often creates intent and seeing the core. So we're working on this call, but it's in a restful way.
Yeah.
I thought also of the way that I used to do life. Like I would get up in the morning and I was so judgmental of myself that if I didn't get my curtains open at 8 o'clock in the morning, I mean, this sounds like a crazy person, but if I didn't get my curtains open by 8 o'clock in the morning, I felt ashamed of myself like the rest of the day. So now I have certain things that I get done during the day, but it's because I love to create convenience for myself. So rather than doing something out of fear that I'm not going to be enough, it's not opening the curtains, by the way, but, but I can do the exact same things like doing a load of laundry because I want to create convenience for myself. There's like a totally different energy about it. And I can do it at first thing in the morning. I could do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I could not do it and I would still be okay. It would still be okay. It's like, no big deal. The laundry's going to be there tomorrow. Cool. Thank you. Anna Maria and then Jana.
Okay, so I wrote some things down. I said, we hustle and exhaust ourselves when we live in lies. So that's the opposite of rest.
Live in lies. Oh, yeah.
Lies. And I said, lies come easily and often when we allow the emotions and feelings we have to determine, like when we allow them to determine our worth or who we are. And so that's an easy way to slip into a lie almost subconsciously because we identify with those emotions rather than acknowledging and observing them. And just rather we need to say, okay, these are here so that we can take the next step, so that we can be moved to take action, rather than these are here to make me feel like I'm an awful human being and I don't have worth. So that's where unrest comes from in my life, is when I slip into those lies. And then I wrote down, as I trust that all is in God's hands, I can let go of control and rest in knowing that I am watched over, loved, supported, and safe.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And then there was just one other thing. Being still allows us to have better clarity,
Mm-hmm.
so that
We
we can
have to be
hear-
still to
Yes.
learn something new.
and that's often when truth comes easier to us, is when we're still.
Mhm.
And that's when we're resting. And I liked how someone pointed out that resting doesn't mean we're doing nothing. We can be very active, but I believe true rest comes in living truth.
Beautiful, beautiful. True
Mhm.
less rest comes in living truth. I love that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jana. And then we'll end our call today.
Yeah, that's all really beautiful, actually. I just had a simple idea to share because I remember hearing some years ago now, but well into my adult life, it would have been helpful to know this earlier, but that there's studies done that actually prove in a workspace, well, I think anywhere, but in workspaces, they create the breaks and whatnot for certain hours apart, but they have realized through the studies that just to take a 10 or 15 minute break does improve your productivity
Mm.
at work.
Mm-hmm.
So even just that tiny bit of changing your thought process or your environment, it does stimulate something
Mm.
for more creativity or more production.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I love that. I know sometimes I'll set aside, I'll say, okay, Saturday, we're going to clean the garage. And, if you can take even just a water break, like just enough to like go in the house and take a break, take a breather, drink some water, feel that reviving quality of the water, and just take a couple of deep breaths, you can go back and do more rather than just like, no, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And go so much longer.
I just to add to that, I guess it helped me to know that because as you go along and when you remind yourself that in a place where you're, it could be a lot of physical activity that you're involved in or something, and you feel that tiredness or exhaustion come on, you start recognizing when your body or your spirit you need just a few minutes, and so it helps to get in tune with yourself.
Yes.
To just remind yourself that.
Yes. Not just waiting for somebody to say, go take a break, but
Right.
to actually recognize within yourself. Laura says the science of it, because that's what she's so good at, the science of everything, behind everything. She says, so true, Jana, we can only concentrate for 50 minutes at a time. That's the science of it. Cool. Awesome. Well, you've got your inspired shortcut, and we have these new beliefs that we're walking forward from this call with, and kind of an suggestion to be in tune, to allow yourself to feel rest, to grow, and to use rest as a tool, even, to grow and to even manifest faster, to go about our work in a restful state. Not lazy, that's different, but to be at peace, and then to take those rest breaks when we know that we need to, and not just when it's needed, not when it's like, oh, I can't go any further, but taking those regular rest breaks because it's a commandment and it's a gift. It's something that will allow us in the end to be able to even do more. So grateful for all the thoughts that have been shared here. It's just really been awesome. I'm excited for what we get to accomplish beyond today because of it. So we'll look forward to being back together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And thanks everybody for all of your contributions and for everybody being here today. Love you guys.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, love you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileenBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.